Hello everyone, welcome to Learning Activity 15, Feedback and Reporting, and we are done with all of the heavy lifting. So that is it. The rest of this is going to be sitting back and doing the hard part, which is documentation. So all the other stuff is taken care of. Now we actually are doing some house cleaning stuff. We've wrapped up we've built our model. We've created our predictions. We've operationalized it. So now it's part of a database framework that can be scaled up using other algorithms as well. So, but anyway, we have some housekeeping things we need to do before we can close this out. So let's do learning activity 15, which leads into learning activity 16, and then we're done when we're off. So okay, so for our lecture, we'll talk about database objects, Python objects, other stuff to document. So this is a documentation exercise. There's no coding. This is all documentation. So I just want to throw this out there. These are some of the things that you're going to have to think through and be aware of because they're going to come up. So we'll talk about that on the lecture, on the lab. The lab will be in Jupyter notebooks, but they're not going to be coding exercises. They're going to be Jupyter notebooks that are just comment focused. So just I want you to be thinking about those, and then we'll go from there into learning activity 16 and then do a prep session for that so that you're kind of ahead of the game. Okay, so database objects. So any tables, SQL code, views, store procedures, we've used all of them up to this point. And then you probably don't want to get down. At some point you do, but we want to have a dictionary of some kind that at the that explains this, a data dictionary of some sort, that helps go into what it is that we're accomplishing or have accomplished. But when we talk about database objects, make sure you include tables, any of the SQL especially major SQL code segments, views, and store procedures. Again, your GitHub repo that you have up to this point, it's got a lot of stuff in it. So just think through what that looks like. But these are the major ones from a database perspective. From a Python perspective, we have a lot to think about. We got our libraries, of course, as our starting point. Major functions that we use, major methods that we use, any major data structures that we use. You want to document those too. Again, it's just about creating some situational awareness around this, and also to help explain what it is that you're doing to other people. Okay, so there's some other stuff we need to talk about, not outside of the data, outside of the programming, those kind of stuff. So the programming languages we use, right, SQL and Python, but you might want to be more specific, like what version of Python, what version of SQL, what SQL engine. We use Microsoft SQL Server 2019. But remember, we use the Express version. Scaling this up shouldn't be that hard. We should be able to, if you use this on the enterprise version of the parallel warehouse or the Azure, it scales up at that level too. It's not a problem. But it's something that people need to be made aware of. So main frameworks. So again, just kind of that's kind of part of that. That could be like, is it a cloud framework? Is it Azure? Is it an on-prem solution? Is it, you just need to make sure that stuff's all documented. Major database engines used, we talked about that. And then major flows. So any data flows, you should show what the major data flows are, what any process flows are. And this is a very important one, the human terrain flow, because people, a lot of times the paper trail as data, the movement of data through an organization is one thing, but that's all controlled by the humans, right? And so humans are in the loop on this. So it's a very cybernetic conversation when we talk about, especially when we're talking about machine learning algorithms, human in the loop operations. Anytime we're talking about an organization, or an autonomous system or anything, or flying an airplane or a fighter pilot or a drone. Those are all human in the loop processes. It's no different than an executive that gets into the middle of a human process to affect a machine learning algorithm's output. It's just a different flow, but still it's a human in the loop flow nonetheless. Don't forget about those pieces and those connect technology, those cyber physical human system contacts. That's the one thing I want everyone to kind of keep in mind. So make sure you document that. Okay, model metrics. So we used so question I want you to ask yourself. This is something we're going to talk about in the lab, but we're going to finish up in the sync session. What model metrics did we use? We only used one, and I didn't really explain it too much, and that was intentional because I want to have a conversation around that in the sync session. We used the mean squared error, the computed MSE. So we did that, but there's two others that we can get, which is the accuracy, how well how accurate is the model, and how precise is it as it relates to that accuracy. And then I think after that, those are fine for now. We could do some more stuff, but given the type of model and how strong it is, we could probably add some other things into it to evaluate it to make sure that we tune it and make sure it's okay. But that's something that we'll talk about in the sync session. Okay, with that, that wraps up our lecture. Let's head over to the lab